Presentation of Fox Sports.
We are Baltimore. We are Ohio.
In St. Louis on this Thursday night, under partly cloudy skies and somewhat cooler temperatures, it's the final road game of the 2016 season, number 81 of 81. Reds and the Cardinals here on Fox Sports Ohio. And hi and a pleasant good evening, everyone. Along with Chris Welsh and Jim Day, I'm Jim Couch, and welcome once again to Reds baseball. Well, tonight the Reds have the opportunity to win the season series against this St. Louis ball club. And Chris, they have been able to do it primarily with amazingly good offense against this Cardinal team.
Well, normally the Cardinal pitching is really very tough to hit against, and over the years the Reds have had a hard time getting really anything together. But this year, well, the worm has really turned. A 309 batting average against a team that is second all-time for a Reds team against the Cardinals. You go back to 2013 where they hit 310. So they've had 47 doubles. They're getting a lot of runs per game, almost 5.5 runs per game. So that's half the formula. We're trying to win a ball game. Obviously, you need to get some pitching out there too. And the Cardinals are going to run out their best pitcher that they've got in Alex Reyes tonight.
Yeah, if the Reds are to win the season series, they have to do well against the #1 Cardinal prospect.
Well, he's a guy, no longer a prospect, legitimate major leaguer. He's got 3 wins this year. 3 of his 4 have come against the Chicago Cubs. So no bad company right there for Reyes. He's an extremely hard thrower. He throws up around 98 to 100 miles an hour. He's got a very good changeup, and he doesn't really look like he very puts much effort in every pitch. So he's a tough customer. There's no question about it. But you're figuring the way that Dan Straley has thrown the ball here this year for the Reds, he will be up for the task.
Who would ever thought that we would be saying Dan Straley going for number 15?
Well, maybe he believed that. I guess that he probably did, because here's a guy that the Reds picked up off the waiver wire on April Fool's Day. Well, right now, he's got to say that he's probably the ace of the staff, given the fact that he's looking at win number 15, if he can get that here this evening. He's got a very good opponent batting average. He's got very good other stats inside, like the number of runners he's able to strand on base. Interesting thing, and we'll get into this as the game goes on, what the Cardinals have done with their lineup against Straley tonight. We'll get to that after we get to the first pitch.
Well, despite the fact that the Reds have not performed as they would have liked in terms of number of wins, there have been some positives this year. And when we come back, Brian Price will hit on some of those.
2018 season. Final of 4 against the St. Louis Cardinals. I'm Jim Day. First half, not so much to talk about. The second half of the season, a lot more optimism about this Cincinnati Reds club and a lot of things positive going forward in the future. I asked manager Brian Price, what are some of the things you've liked from the second half?
We're 25 games under 500 in the first half of the season. We had an 11-game losing streak in May. In a situation where we played a lot of close games and we fell short, and it was obvious we were at least a couple of pieces away from being able to compete with the rest of the National League. And these guys didn't dial it in, as a combination of young players, but also several veterans. And you looked at Cozart and Bruce and Votto and Phillips and guys that we looked to for leadership, and they just continued to play hard. And the young guys had no choice but to do the same, it's not hard to motivate younger players, but it really does speak to the character of the player. And I think you have to have that at this level. I think you can have great talent and underperform, but to have younger, less experienced or lesser talent and perform to a level beyond, really realistically beyond expectation, to be 25 games under in the first half and then play 500 ball in the second, does speak very well of the players and the coaching staff. And what they've been doing in order to keep the boat afloat and to really look at it and say, hey, we do have a good team. We do play hard. We do know how to play. And we have the opportunity to get better, be it through free agency, trades, or just the maturation of some of our younger players in the system.
And some of these younger players, the way it's unfolded, you've got pretty good sample sizes on guys like Peraza and Schebler who've really taken advantage of the opportunity.
They have. And, have a chance to be regular players moving forward into next season and have major roles in contributing to our ball club. We certainly could not have anticipated that Adam Duvall would be an all-star and a Gold Glove candidate in left field to provide us with 30 homers and 100 RBIs and to be an everyday player at this level. I mean, I don't think anybody could have suggested that was inevitably in his future. I think it was a question on if he could be that type of player, and he answered that question. And then to get the performances of guys like Joey and Brandon to play as well as they've played in tough circumstances and really want to be here in Cincinnati and really want to be a part of this turnaround, it does speak very well of what's happening here currently.
And another positive, the guy going to the hill tonight, Dan Straley, and certainly the guy in the back end of the bullpen last night. We're talking about Rice Hill to the rescue. When we come back, the boys back in Cincinnati have more on that. Reds and Cardinals coming up.
year, 19th and final meeting of the season between the Reds and the Cardinals, with the winner taking the season series. Let's talk about our Elk and Elk storyline for tonight's game. That's exactly where we head. 9 wins apiece. You can see the Reds slightly outscoring the Cardinals this year, and really, as we talked about in the open, really out-hitting them. A .309 team average against St. Louis pitching this year. And of course, it's been since 2011 that the Reds last won the season series against the Cardinals when they won 9 of 15. Let's take a look at the Reds lineup tonight. Against the right-hander Alex Reyes, it'll be Peraza, Iribarren, number 2, and then Votto. Duvall, Suarez, and DeJesus Jr. gets to start at second base tonight. Barnard catching, Renda in right, Straley on the mound, and what I called the #1 prospect, and you said, no, he's now firmly entrenched in their rotation, Alex Reyes.
Well, he's only 22 years old. In fact, he turned 22 this August, but that was after he had already earned his first win, hold, and save as a major leaguer. Cardinals called him up in August, and they wasted no time putting him to work.
Tough play, and caught in foul ground by Steven Piscotty on the game's first pitch. Hit down the right field line by Jose Peraza, and that's how this game gets started. Take a look at the rest of the defenders for the Cardinals, brought to you by your 4 dealers. The outfield, other than Piscotty in right, is Grichuk in center. Martinez in left field. We see him as a starter for the first time. Peralta, Diaz, Gyorko at second, and Carpenter at first. Reyes and Molina make up the battery. And the batter now is Iribarren. Reyes 4-1, 1.58 ERA, and this is start number 5, appearance number 12. And it was the Reds who saw him as a major leaguer for the first time here in this ballpark back on August the 9th. He was the 5th and final pitcher of the game on that date. A game which the Reds won 7-4. He had a 1-2-3 ninth inning, made his big league debut, and then they saw him again as a starter over in Cincinnati earlier this month on September the 2nd. Game the Reds won 3-2. He was not involved in the decision, but boy, he threw pretty well in that game. 7 innings of 2-run baseball. Iribarren to the right side, and he'll be thrown out by Jedd Gyorko. Still 5 pitches and 2 out for this 22-year-old out of Elizabeth, New Jersey, Alex Reyes. 2 out for Votto. Mentioned the fact that Votto went 0 for 5 in the game last night. It was only the 3rd 0 for 5 he's had this year, the first in the second half of the season. Joey started last night at .324. He starts tonight at .321, which is still 3rd best in the league. .28 home runs, 92 runs batted in for Joey Votto. Among the things that he is trying to accomplish this year, trying to become only the 4th Reds player to ever produce a .325 batting average and a 30 home run season. He's a little shy on both of those right now. Trying to join Kevin Mitchell, Frank Robinson, Big Ted Kluszewski on that list. Foul ball.
You know, kind of interesting. Joey Votto took an 0 for 5 last night. The first time all second half of the season that he went 0 for 5. He's only done it 3 times all year long. And in every one of his at-bats, the Cardinals pitchers got behind him. It's like they had 2 throwaway pitches. They went 2-0 and then came back and got him. Reyes went 3-0 here. And they're going to retire him. So that must be the secret. Don't tell anybody.
2-3 go the Redlegs in the first against Alex Reyes. the first inning, and now the Cardinals will come up here in the bottom of number 1. Dan Straley will face this St. Louis lineup tonight. Carpenter, Grichuk, and Molina at the top. Then Piscotty, Peralta, and Jedd Gyorko starting at second base tonight. The bottom then includes Aledmys Diaz, Jose Martinez. We'll talk more about him as the night goes on. And Alex Reyes against the right-hander Dan Straley, looking for number 15.
You know, when I previewed this game on my Twitter account tonight, I called it brain versus brawn, because obviously Reyes brings the brawn at nearly 100 miles an hour when he really cuts it loose. And I don't think that I've run into a pitcher that knows more about himself and his own stats and what he does well and what he needs to improve on and where he's been and where he's going as Dan Straley. I mean, he really has a hold of what Dan Straley is all about. It's very refreshing to talk to him. So the brain pitches, then he gets a fly ball.
Well, he's a left-handed hitter, and he's the only lefty in the lineup for the Cardinals tonight.
You know, and the reason, you know, it was funny because on the bus, a lot of times the pitcher gets on the bus on game day and he's got his game face on and he won't talk to anybody. Sometimes they don't even want to make eye contact with you. But Straley is quite the opposite. He was just gabbing away to anybody who would listen. And he looked at the lineup and he said, how about that? The Cardinals are only going to play one lefty against me. They must know what I know. You know, that left-handers are hitting 193 against me and right-handers are hitting 240. And sure enough, he's exactly right on, and that's probably the reason why Mike Matheny decided to go with primarily a right-handed lineup. There you see the left-handers' opponent batting average against who the leaders are, and Straley's one of them.
Grichuk, the second batter of the Cardinal first, singles into left field. First base runner of the game. Reds defensive setup brought to you by your Ford dealers. They line up like this tonight. Duvall, Iribarren, Renda in the outfield. Renda's second start in right field this year. Suarez, Peraza, DeJesus Jr. and Votto on the infield. Straley and Barnhart make up your battery. DeJesus Jr. getting the start in place of Phillips. And there's Renda. He started Sunday in right field in Milwaukee and makes just his second big league start in right field here tonight in St. Louis. He'll get a chance at a fly ball here. Nearing the line. Renda in fair territory makes the catch of that ball. We're seeing these Cardinals go up there hacking early against Straley.
Well, what they don't really want Straley to be able to do is to start getting them off stride. Adding a little bit on the fastball, taking a little bit off with the changeup, using sliders and so on. He throws a lot of first pitch fastballs, especially the first time through the order. I mean, you can look these things up and you can verify them. And if a guy stays predictable, they'll know what that trend is. And that's one reason probably this time through the lineup anyway, they're going to go up there swinging against Straley.
Runner on and 2 out. The Cardinals send up Stephen Piscotty. Hitting .274 with 22 home runs. He's driven in 83. That's tops on this Cardinal club. In the series, he's 4 out of 9. Straley making his third start this year against the Cardinals, 4th appearance. And the 2 starts have been at home, so this will be his first start here in his career at Busch Stadium. He last worked against them on the 3rd of September at Great American Ballpark. Reds won that game. He allowed 1 run in 5 2/3 innings in that start. But he did, as you can see on the graphic there, walk a career high 7. What a defensive play by Suarez, and then he throws it low and it gets by Votto. Over to third base goes Grichuk. Votto runs the ball down and sends it to the plate. Cardinals will have them at first and third. That ball was smoked by Piscotty. Suarez came up with a terrific stop and then did not follow it up with a very good throw.
Well, that's a shame where you make one half of a play, just a tremendous effort, and then come up a little bit short on the throw. You see it happen from time to time. That ball is just ticketed for down the left field corner somewhere. I think on a play like that, Suarez, because the ball was hit so hard, he probably had more time than he thought he did. But he was also probably amazed that he was able to snag it.
It's ruled a base hit by Piscotty, and as of right now, they have not put an error on the board. I'm wondering if they may on the throw that allowed Gritchett to go from second to third. Either way, that was a heck of a stop by Suarez.
Saving the run.
Ball one now to Peralta. At least at the time being, they're not charging Suarez with an error. So Johnny Peralta, an opportunity with runners at first and third and 2 men out here in the bottom of the first. Peralta 263 with 8 home runs. This year, runners in scoring position just 246. Appears to be 2 times in a row now late on Straley fastball. Look at the Cardinals' difference here, first and second half. Runners in scoring position, best in the National League at the break. They actually entered this series behind the Reds and in third place. Colorado's 1, the Reds 2, Cardinals 3 runners in scoring position in the National League this year. They were 0 for 8 last night. 5 for 17 in the series for the Cardinals with runners in scoring position. And they had most of those last night, most of those 8, 5 of them against Iglesias in the last 2 innings. There's strike 3 call. Front door breaking ball gets Peralta, and Straley works around the 2 hits by the Cardinals. Feeling good. It's Skyline time. Fans still arriving here in downtown St. Louis at Busch Stadium. They've had 2 sub 40,000 crowds in the last couple of days of this series. Actually, let's see, all 3 games of this series have been sub 40,000 after they had gone 240 straight games with 40,000 or more dating back to the tail end of the 2013 season. Hanging breaking ball hit hard to left field. That's going to be over the head of Martinez and off the wall. Adam Duvall hustling into second. He will get there with a leadoff 2-base hit. So Adam Duvall gets double number 31, and he gets the leadoff double here in the second.
Well, it was a big breaking ball. You see the curveball. I had a conversation a while ago with Adam Duvall about that, and he reminds me of a lot of other power hitters that like to get up there and they will hit the fastball the other way, but they'll try to pull the breaking ball. And if you can get out in front of that breaking ball a little bit in front of the plate, pop it on the sweet part of the bat, it goes a long way, and he nearly knocked it out of here with what looked like about a half a swing.
Duvall has had a nice year against the Cardinals. He has 19 of his 102 RBIs this year against St. Louis, almost 20% of them. And in this series, he's now 7 out of 15. Well, you mentioned it earlier, Chris. He has an easy motion to get up between 95 and 100.
It really is amazing. And they have him listed at 6 feet 3 inches tall, 175 pounds. We're talking about Alex Reyes. I mean, I think he goes a little bigger than that right now. He looks larger than life on the mound, especially when he cuts that baby loose and it's in the high 90s.
There's a ball that went in and out of the glove of Molina, allows the runner Duvall to move to third. The pitch was off the plate. Molina reached for it. Went in and out of the glove. That'll be a pass ball.
That's a tough pass ball right there, because that is at 97 miles an hour. Molina just reached out just hoping that, you know, he was going to be able to flag that baby down. In fact, he even gave a little look back up here to the press box, I think, when he saw that pass ball be flashed up on the scoreboard.
Check swing, and he did not go around, according to the first base umpire, Tony Randazzo. It's the 8th pass ball this year against Molina. Suarez a strikeout victim, first out of the inning.
Well, Reyes is the type of pitcher that he can walk the bases loaded and then has the stuff to be able to strike out the side. Not only just the fastball, but that's an excellent breaking ball. He's got a very good changeup to go with it.
So the next opportunity for the Reds to try to get Duvall home from third falls on the shoulders of Ivan DeJesus Jr. Infield in. And he got jammed and pops it up to first, and Carpenter 2 out. Boy, that thing rode right in on his fists. So 2 out.
Yeah, that's why they say hard stuff in, because to effectively hit the pitch on the inner part of the plate or even a little bit off the plate, you've got to hit it out in front of home plate. So you actually have to be early on the inside pitch and late on the outside pitch to hit it well. And that's why they usually say throw it hard and throw it in.
Barnhart now with 2 out. Reyes has a remarkable number this year with regard to runners in scoring position. Coming into this game, opponents hitting only .094 against him with runners in scoring position. 3 for 32, and you can add 2 to that here in this inning with Suarez striking out and DeJesus popping up.
Yeah, I'm always curious why people who kind of crunch the numbers say, well, a hitter with runners in scoring position, his batting average really, it's just a matter of luck. But that's not a matter of luck right there with Tucker Barnhart.
He hits it out into right field, down in front of Piscotty for a base hit, and Tucker Barnhart with 2 men out, and the runner on comes through with the base hit. He has been a .356 hitter this year in that situation, and he drives in the game's first run.
Really, the point I'm trying to make is that a lot of people say, well, hitters don't determine when they're going to get base hits, so they don't give hitters credit for hitting with runners in scoring position. But they seem to want to give pitchers credit for being able to pitch well with runners in scoring position. What side of the fence do you find yourself on?
I give credit to the pitcher. I give credit to the hitter, because even if he makes a mistake, you still have to execute. And it's not that easy.
I agree.
Renda bats with 2 men out and a run in.
And really, the bottom line is when you're talking about close ball games, it's those teams that are able to convert those opportunities. Last night, the Cardinals, after the game and all today, were bemoaning the fact that they just weren't able to convert on opportunities that they had. Runners at third base, runners in scoring position, 0 for 5 against Iglesias in those situations, and they ended up with a loss last night. The most disappointing loss that they've had in quite a long time, and a very needed win that got away from them.
Yeah, they had that big situation in the 6th inning against DeSclafani when Moss struck out, and then in the 8th and 9th, as you mentioned, against Iglesias, and the Reds were able to get through it. Brian Price said after the game, one of the more satisfying wins of the season was here last night. That one is going to be in foul ground by Renda and drop untouched. So back to first base goes Tucker Barnhart. Reds home after the game, and the final series of the season comes up beginning tomorrow night at Great American Ballpark against the Cubs. Jason Hamill, scheduled to pitch tomorrow night for Chicago, has been scratched with stiffness in his right elbow. Depending on how their game goes tonight against the Pirates, depends on who will start tomorrow. Strike 3 on a breaking ball. Renda caught looking. 2 strikeouts in the inning for Reyes, but a big hit by Barnhart. All the action coming up on Saturday, the middle game of the 3-game series. You can do so for as low as $13. That's the Reds and the Cubs at Great American Ballpark. Do it thanks to Butterbee's American Grill, where the first 25,000 fans will receive a Team Cincinnati t-shirt. For tickets, you can call 513-381-REDS or visit reds.com/tickets. Bottom of the second, 1-0 Reds. Dan Straley back to work, and he gets Jedd Gyorko starting at second base tonight. Guy's been all over the field for the Cardinals this year. Greg Garcia been at second base first 2 games of this series, first 3 games of this series, but those couple of errors last night. And he's out of the lineup tonight.
I got to figure that this matchup may have happened as far back as when these guys were in college. Gyorko went to West Virginia University in Morgantown, and of course Straley went to Marshall. And they're about the same age.
High and deep into left center field, and that one will make the bleachers. That's a home run for Gyorko, number 28.
Gyorko hit that like he knew it was coming. And I mean hit it a long way. That ball not only just into the stands, but it was over the bullpen area and about halfway up the row of bleachers.
Continues to build on a new career high in home runs. He hit 23 his rookie year back in 2013. A good change for the Cardinals, getting Garcia out of there and Gyorko in there in terms of power. 1-1 game. That leads us right into a conversation regarding Straley, who gives up his 30th home run of the year. The good thing about those home runs that most of them, 23 now, have been solo shots.
I know there's a place to look that up, but I don't know, where'd you find that?
Baseball Reference.
Did you?
He's now tied for the league lead in home runs given up with 30. All that Miss Diaz's only hit of this series was that grand slam on Tuesday. Bat with a run in and nobody out. 17 long ones for him, 65 RBIs. Able to stay healthy, talking about Diaz all year. He would probably be more in the conversation for National League Rookie of the Year than he is. Would you agree with that?
I agree, yes. Especially considering what he has meant to this ball club. How they have played and won when he's been healthy and in the lineup, and they really struggled when he was not.
He works a walk from Straley, and so a home run and the walk is how the bottom of the second starts.
Let's go back to the home run that Jedd Gyorko put on. Straley's a guy that likes to pitch the ball up, but up is where I mean right here. You see that pitch right there is in the hitting zone. Gyorko's not a real tall player, but when people say, well, he's a fly ball pitcher and he gives up a lot of home runs, he doesn't give up on home runs on those pitches where he gets it to his spot. He's like every other pitcher. When he gets it in that thigh to belt line area, that's where the ball is hit the hardest. So sinker ball pitchers have to stay below that, and high fastball pitchers like Straley have to stay above that.
Here's Jose Martinez getting the start in left field tonight, his first start of this series. Only played in 10 games up here, his first 10 games ever as a big leaguer. 6 out of 13 with 1 run batted in. He got into the game here on Monday and had a pinch hit base hit. Interesting story. He's 27 years old, out of Venezuela, 6'7". Comes from a baseball family. His dad Carlos had some time in the big leagues back in the late 80s into the 90s. This year he had 278 between the Royals AAA club at Omaha and the Cardinals AAA team at Memphis. He was purchased by the Cardinals from the Royals in May after laboring in the minor leagues since what, 07. Finally made it to the big leagues this year. Home run by Gyorko tied the game. Walk to Diaz has put the go-ahead run on for the Cardinals here in the bottom of the second. And now back-to-back walks by Dan Straley. walks, and the last time he pitched against the Cardinals was that outing in which he walked 7. That was back on September the 3rd in a 9-1 Reds win. He's walked back-to-back hitters here in the bottom of number 2. Here's Alex Reyes, who does have 1 sack this year, an opportunity to move those runners along. Votto in, Suarez in at the corners. Wanting to bunt and fouling it. Strike 1. Running right through that one was Reyes, nothing in 2. Well, let's see what Mike Matheny and the Cardinals have in mind here. I would suspect he is still, and looks, by body language, looks like he's going to try to bunt again. And he's out. He sounds upset. That's a strikeout on a foul on a bunt attempt.
I like the way Straley went about that. Once he got a strike on Reyes, he was not going to make it easy on him. He gets a pitch right there that comes out of Straley's hand looking like a strike, turns into a ball, and he chases it down and out of the zone for strike 3.
Sets up a double play if the Reds can get it. Carpenter has hit into only 4 of them this year. Fly to left to get this game started for the Cardinals in the bottom of the 1st, and here he is again in the bottom of number 2. 2 on with 1 out. Straley falls behind again. He's behind Diaz, behind Martinez, now behind Carpenter here in this inning. Straley this year 8-1 at home with a 2.90 ERA. His road split a little bit different. 6 wins, 7 losses, and an ERA of 4.71. So he's been much better at Great American Ballpark, which is odd because it is always listed as a fly ball, a home run hitter's park.
I think that's the misnomer that little by little you're going to have to figure out. Here's the thing about that. Balls do fly out of there more than they do other ballparks. There's no question about it, but Straley is going to give up home runs anywhere just because he pitches aggressively in the strike zone for the most part, and he pitches up but doesn't have a lot of fastball on, you know, he pitches up with less than a major league average fastball. So that's going to get hit more. But as you mentioned, so many of those home runs have been solo shots. It's the walks, though, that you really would like to see him be able to concentrate on, and this is a great example in this inning. You give up a home run, and then you come up to the number 7 and 8 hitters, and you end up walking them. So I think that's probably more just a loss of concentration than anything else, because he's certainly capable of throwing the ball where he wants to.
He's averaged 3.5 walks per 9 innings this year, and he's walked 2 in this inning. 73 on the year.
Yeah, and a lot of those walks came earlier in the year. He had that one game where he walked 7 and got a win. That's a great off-speed pitch right there.
Sends Carpenter back to the dugout. Now they're 2 out.
That's a changeup, and that's his real go-to pitch against left-handers, and I think that's the reason why Mike Matheny decided not to have a lot of left-handed hitters in this lineup against Strader. He did not want to have those guys try to negotiate that particular pitch. So he's brought in his right-handed contingent, and really all the damage that has been done tonight have been by right-handers.
So here's Grichuk, a base hit his first time. First pitch swinging to the shortstop. Close, but out at first base. Like Peraza kind of laid back on that ball, and the Reds just do get the runner at first, although the Cardinals are going to have their video man look at it. Mike Matheny up on the top step. Close, but they get him, and the inning is over.
Top of the third, tied at 1. Dan Straley steps to the plate, who no longer has an offer attached to him. And we're bringing you the top moments of September tonight, and moment number 4 was indeed Dan Straley. September 18th versus the Pirates. Got the monkey off his back on that night. On that day, I should say. Dugout went crazy. Straley went crazy. It was an 0 for 48 before that. Moment number 4, the top 3 coming up.
How could you not, though? How could you not break the streak when you're wearing the Luck of the Irish green jersey, right? And it was Irish Heritage Day at the ballpark, wearing the green jersey. You can see that. And he gets the base hit into right field. And in typical Dan Straley fashion, remember, he came back to first base. He already had his hand up saying, hey, make sure you get that ball. Save that ball. And they did. The 97-mile-an-hour fastball that sends Straley back toward the dugout. Third strikeout for Reyes.
Pretty difficult challenge right there for Straley to get a hit tonight.
Back to the top of the order now, and Jose Peraza. Fouled out on the game's first pitch down the right field line, his first trip. We talked about it before, but the story of Alex Reyes and how he was able to become a Cardinal is an interesting one, considering that he's a non-drafted player, but he grew up in New Jersey.
Actually born and raised in Elizabeth, New Jersey, where he pitched and played third base for his high school team until he was a junior in high school. Then he went down to live with his grandmother and his extended family in the Dominican Republic. And by doing so, he became eligible to be signed as an international free agent rather than be drafted like American players are, either when they're in high school, junior college, or four-year colleges. So he ended up getting a bonus of about $950,000, probably more than what he would have gotten had he been drafted. Although if anybody had seen him and projected him at age 22 to be a pitcher that he is the way right now, I'd imagine he'd been a first-round draft pick and gotten at least that much. At the time that he was drafted, Baseball America had projected him as, you know, somewhere around the 7th best prospect in the Cardinals organization. That was a couple of years ago. This year he came in as number 1. His road to the major leagues, however, was detoured. He had a 50-game suspension for twice testing positive for a violation of the minor league drug prevention and treatment program. He tested positive for a drug that is legal in many states, but illegal in minor league baseball.
Cardinals read that, pitched out as Peraza took off, and he is tagged out by Gyorko, the second baseman. Ryan Price up to the top step of the dugout.
Well, it's been one of the sore spots for the Cardinals this year because it used to be that Yadier Molina controlled the running game. And with the help of his pitching staff, it was extremely hard to try to pick up bases with stolen bases against the Cardinals. He's not throwing like he used to, although he put that one right on the money.
Reds decide not to challenge, and so now there are 2 men out. Hernan Iribarren, who bounced out to the second baseman his first time, gets his second straight start in center field tonight with Scott Schebler still protecting that left hamstring. He's going to ground out to Gyorko again here. So 3 batters and out by the Reds thanks to the caught stealing in the top of the 3rd.
Years that you win the World Series, and the next season it's a whammy. Kansas City eliminated last night from postseason. So Royals, Giants, Red Sox, Giants did not make the postseason after winning the World Series. The last one to do it, the St. Louis Cardinals, won the world title in 2011.
A light rain falling here at the ballpark. Is kind of blowing across the field from the left field foul pole across. There's a slight chance of rain for the next hour or so, and we're getting some of it right now.
I'd like to go back to that list again. That was very interesting, Jim Day, about the teams that, you know, are winning the World Series one year and then they even get to the playoffs the next, because I can guarantee you every one of these teams, when they have, you know, won the World Series, they go into spring training thinking, well, we've built this team to last. We want to be able to compete year after year after year. So it just goes to show you no matter what your intentions, sometimes the year in which you compete and that you win picks you rather than you picking the year. And this would be a great example for this year. Last year, in 2015, in order to make the playoffs in the National League, you needed 94 wins. This year, here these teams that are, 6 or 7 games over 500 are right in the thick of things when it comes to getting into the wild card.
85, maybe 86.
Yeah, so 8 or 9 wins fewer this year than last year, so this would have been an awfully good year to have a pretty good year.
Or you could have a pretty good year every other year like the Giants and win the World Series 3 times in the last 5 years. And the way they were playing at the All-Star break, people would think, well, 18 is their year, or 16 rather is their year again.
I just think the teams, I know everybody does this, and they plan and they've got strategic planning meetings, long-term, short-term, and so on. But when they say, well, this is the year that we're going to compete, well, there are so many things that can derail you. You really never know. Because I guarantee you, when they were sitting on top of the World Series crown last year, the Kansas City Royals thought, hey, with our team, we're going to be right back in the same spot next year.
Well, that's what they thought after the 14 season, and it was true.
True.
But it did not, as you said, turn out positive for them this year. Hammered to left field by Peralta, but Duvall back into his left is able to get to the spot and make the catch of that hard hit ball. So with Kansas City officially being eliminated, we now know that there will be a new World Series champion in 2016. A little twist into it today in terms of the American League. The Cleveland-Detroit game in Detroit postponed due to rain. That game set to be made up, if necessary, on Monday in Detroit, if it is deemed necessary.
All right, well, right now the Tigers are 1 game out of the wild card. They trailed the Baltimore Orioles by 1, and I guess the Blue Jays by 2. Mariners right behind them at 2 games back. So that game might very well be necessary.
And I guess it also could be meaningful for Cleveland in terms of the home field advantage. There's the AL wild card right now. Oakland playing at Seattle a little bit later on tonight. Seattle's a little bit further back, and yet they've had a remarkable second half. Baltimore and Toronto, they play tonight. Rain has picked up a little bit now. Crew chief here is the home plate umpire, Bill Miller. We're in the bottom of the third of a 1-1 game. Interesting that the rain that is coming down, it's almost like a mist. You don't see a lot of the fans getting up and running for cover right now.
You don't see a lot of fans sporting umbrellas, nor are they sporting raincoats. Most of them just brought a few sweatshirts along because it was cool, but they didn't think they were going to have to battle the wet.
Really trying to get Gyorko here, who homered off of him. Left center field his first time. Gyorko has 2 hits against Straley this year, 2 for 6, and both of them have been home runs. Runner starts to go and then stops. That's Piscotty down there at first base. Look at these numbers now. Fewest RBIs with 27 or more home runs. Gyorko's at the top of the list, or the bottom, depending on how you want to look at it. And his teammate Brandon Moss is right there with him. A lot of solo home runs. 3-2. Really now sitting at 49. This next pitch, his 50th pitch, and this is last start of the year. His first in St. Louis. Runner going and a foul ball.
Well, Gyorko had signed an extension with the San Diego Padres. It takes him, I think, until 2018 or 19. And then the Padres turned around and traded him. They did it last December in exchange for John Jay. I think the Cardinals missed John Jay. But the Padres also agreed to pay a little bit towards Gyorko's contract. So they really expected to use Gyorko as a backup player. But he just fought his way into the lineup, and some injuries gave him that opportunity.
Unforgettable games, undeniable greatness, and unstoppable drama. That's the 2016 postseason, and it begins on October the 4th. Go to MLB.com/postseason for a full schedule. Regular season ends Sunday. There could be a game or so, never know, on Monday to set the playoffs that begin on Tuesday. American League wild card game Tuesday, National League wild card game Wednesday. American League Division Series begin on Thursday. Votto, Duvall, Suarez here in the 4th. Joey fights that one off and shoots it out into left center field for a base hit. So Votto, who was seeing Reyes for the first time, he did not face Reyes here back on August the 9th when he made the relief appearance, or in the game in which Reyes started against the Reds earlier.
Why don't more batters do that?
They don't have the bat control that Votto does.
But if you work on it, you can do that. I mean, Votto prepares himself for that by choking up, on the bat, and also choking up mentally, and in the process picks up hit number 1,400 of his major league career.
I think you hit on a good point, though. You said he mentally is prepared. It's so hard, I would believe, to stay positive through every at bat. We've heard him say he steps out. I had to get back to my neutral spot. I don't want to be influenced by what has happened yet so far in the at bat.
It just goes to show you what a head game this game is.
Sure.
Sometimes you get it to the plate and you get a fastball right down the middle, you foul it straight back. And So while the next pitch is on its way, you're thinking about how could I have missed that last pitch? And that's what Votto means by that neutral spot. Meaning you got to get essentially a clean slate and get back in the batter's box and be in the moment. And he does it about as well as anybody.
He's the go-ahead run on to start the 4th inning. Duvall hit that breaking ball double his first time. That's in 1,400 hits by Joey Votto. Not in the top 10 yet. Probably need another 2 seasons to get into the top 10. Frank Robinson is 10th all time with 1,673 hits in his Reds career. Pete Rose, of course, the all-time leader at 3,358. Barry Larkin is second, 2,340. Which was coming, blowing across the field lightly, is now picked up and is coming straight down. There's a cell right over St. Louis right now. Busch Stadium is getting the brunt of it. See Reyes trying to dry off his arm out there. Strike 3 called. Duvall thought he had walked on the 3-2 pitch. Instead, Bill Miller rings him up. Number 4 for Reyes.
Little frame job at the very end right there by Yadier Molina, although I don't think that really affected the call by Bill Miller. He had already made his mind up. The lower part of the zone defined as the hollow of the knees.
Peralta to second, they get him out, and on the first, safe.
Peralta makes a nice play on this. He's got to go up high to get it and then set his feet, and he throws it low to Gyorko, but they're able to get that lead runner at second base. They signed him to be the shortstop, and they found a better shortstop, so they moved him to third.
He's still under contract for 1 more year, Johnny Peralta. So Suarez runs with 2 out. Votto erased. Just as we said, the rain started to come down a lot harder. Now it is slacked off just a bit.
You were looking at your radar. Is this a big front coming through here?
No, it is not. It's just a cell that's sitting over St. Louis right now, part of St. Louis. How about the Reds having the opportunity to win A, back-to-back series against the Cardinals, and B, the season series against the Cardinals this year? Neither of those have been done since 2011. Teams are 9-9 right now this year. Reyes thought he had the strikeout there of DeJesus, but didn't get the call. Ivan starting at second base tonight. Phillips still out, 2nd game in a row with that left hand injury. Only the 6th start of the year at second for DeJesus. He has started this year primarily, it's been at shortstop. from 0-2 to 3-2. There's Phillips. Certainly hope to get him back in the lineup over the weekend against the Cubs. There's a swing that he took late in the game on Tuesday. You saw him flexing that hand, pulling back on his fingers. Left the game late. Didn't play yesterday. Not in there today. Hard hit by DeJesus is going to send the runner over to third. And so Suarez alights there. First and third for the Reds here in the fourth inning with only one out.
Well, glad one fell in here for Ivan DeJesus Jr. because he scalded one last night off the tip of the pitcher's glove and ended up running into an out on it. This time no one gets it as he hits a line drive into left field. He's been kind of the forgotten guy, DeJesus has been, ever since the arrival of Peraza coming up here. Tony Renda's taken some playing time. I think they know what DeJesus can do, and they like his demeanor on the bench. They like his versatility in the field, defensive wise, and defensively, and also offensively.
Yeah, I could easily see him being a guy that's back with this team next year, no question. Barnhart bats. There are 2 men out, 2 men on. So Reds run in the second. Pops one up here and playable. Molina near the screen. And Yadier makes the play. Barnhart retired. The Reds strand a pair.
But he provides us with moment number 3 of September. Let's take you back to the 13th. Dan Straley had never gone 8 innings in a game, and he would have been taken from this game had Phillips not made that play on Neuenhuis. Diving stop, and it gave Dan Straley a career best 8 innings pitched on that night. So like Billy Hamilton, a big salute from Straley to an all-time great defender.
That was victory number 12 for Dan Straley against the Brewers that night. Here he is tonight going for number 15. Reds and the Cardinals deadlocked 1-1. Reds have 5 hits. Cardinals have 3. Cardinals come in 82 and 76. Still on the outside looking in terms of the National League wild card race. They trail the Giants by 1 game for the number 2 wild card spot. Giants play at home tonight against the Colorado Rockies. First pitch swinging and a pop-up. That ball will be a base hit, and it's going to end up as a 2-base hit. In the second base goes Aledmys Diaz. That looked like it could have been caught by one of 3 players. Instead, it falls between Iribarren, Peraza, and Duvall.
It turns out to be very bad luck for Dan Straley. I'm not so sure about whose ball it should have been. And when it came off the bat, it looked like it was going to be a routine pop-up. DeJesus is going back. He gets kind of turned around on it. He's calling it, it looks like, and then at the last moment, it appears that Duvall called him off of it. So DeJesus thought he had it under control. In fact, he turned away from it. Not DeJesus, but Peraza at shortstop.
Yeah, he looked like he was shocked and surprised when he saw that ball drop. Ends up being a double for Aledmus Diaz.
You know, it's almost always good for the outfielder to call off the infielder, but if you're going to call him off, you better make the catch.
That unfortunately did not happen there. Cardinals have the go-ahead run in scoring position to start the bottom of the fourth. Jose Martinez is the batter now. Talking about the year he had in the PCL this year, but there was nothing compared to what he did last year. 2015 at Omaha, he won the PCL batting championship when he hit .384 for the Omaha team. .384. This year, a mere, if you want, .278 between Omaha and Memphis. Up here in early September and getting a rare start tonight out in left field. I mentioned the Giants are playing later at home against Colorado. The Mets off today, and they'll start a weekend series at Philadelphia tomorrow night. The Mets a game and a half up on the Giants. 2.5 ahead of these Cardinals. Cardinals probably don't have any idea about catching the Mets, but they would love to be able to get into that Giants team. We're wrapping up that series tonight at home against Colorado, and then the Giants go to Los Angeles, take on the Dodgers for 3. Actually, the Dodgers come to San Francisco. Dodgers come to San Francisco to close out the season. Those will be Vin Scully's last 3 game broadcasts. Look at that cut by Martinez. I mean, this guy does not get cheated. 6'7", 215 is what they list him as. 27 years old. Drafted as a 16-year-old, and finally this year getting a chance in the big leagues, albeit late. Pitcher Reyes waits on deck. He's really not as efficient from a pitch perspective as we've seen him in the past. He's already thrown 59. Still looking for the first out here in the bottom of the fourth. Rain has, for the most part, stopped. I'd imagine groundskeepers may come out and put some of that water absorption compound near the mound and maybe even the home plate area after the half inning ends. It's sticky out there watching Straley work.
It's been a long haul for Martinez to finally get to the major leagues. Martinez was originally signed by the Orioles when he was 17 years old. And he's played all over the place. He's played year after year of winter ball back in his hometown like Guaira, Venezuela. And here at age 27, 11 years later, he finally makes his major league debut. He just turned 28 earlier this season. It's kind of interesting, really. You know, the first thing you mentioned about Martinez was his height. You know, depending on what publication you look at, he's either listed at 6'6" or 6'7", so let's just assume he's tall. But if you look through the records of baseball, how many really tall hitters have made it big in the major leagues? This is one game in which size, especially height at the plate, really doesn't mean too much. One of the best players in the game is nearly a foot shorter than Martinez, Jose Altuve with the Houston Astros.
You can list some power hitters that have height.
You're right.
But not many average hitters.
It's just such a big strike zone to cover.
Renda chasing this ball right near the foul line, makes the catch. Diaz will tag and move to third. So a productive out for Martinez is the first out of the bottom of the fourth.
That was a real battling out right there. He fouled off a lot of pitches before he got the job done.
Reminders, you watch the game tonight. We'll bring you a little bit later on our Miller Time moment of the game, brought to you by Miller Lite. There's Alex Reyes. He had an opportunity to sacrifice his first time. Let's move the infield in here in the bottom of the fourth. Go ahead, run at third and one out.
Chances are they won't be squeezing him.
Good way to start him off right there.
Well, and you're going to pitch him like he's the best hitter in the league right here. You're going to drop curveballs on him. You have to drop your arm if you have to. You're certainly not just going to challenge him just because he's the pitcher. This is a very important run out there for Dan Straley.
Runner coming home, a bobble, and that's all the Cardinals needed. Out at first base as Peraza had a play at the plate, but he bobbled the ball when he tried to transfer it from glove to hand, and Reyes gets the run home.
I'll tell you, Diaz at third base had a tremendous break on that ball. I know that he probably would have been thrown out. I mean, he's almost getting a running start down there, Diaz was. He had a very short lead, but he was moving on the pitch, and it just happened to be that that was the pitch that Reyes put into play. I'm not even so sure that they would have gotten him at the plate had he fielded that cleanly.
Two out, bases empty, and it's Carpenter.
It was a real interesting way that Diaz took a lead down there on that. I thought that was somewhat unusual. Suarez, the third baseman, was playing about 6 feet from the bag, so you really can't take much of a lead if the third baseman's that close. But he was almost standing on the bag and then taking kind of a running lead and got a big jump. Take another look at it here as Diaz is the third base. He's kind of just starts off really short and then gets a running lead, which really helped him get a good jump. Again, I'm not so sure that Peraza throws him out.
He gets Carpenter, a called third strike. Carpenter looks back at Bill Miller, disagrees with the call. Bottom of the fourth comes to an end. Ohio is brought to you by your local Ford dealer. Ford, go further. And by Cincinnati Children's, changing the outcome together. And this weekend, Reds will be back home taking on the Cubs. And when you're out there, make sure you visit Mr. Red's Smokehouse, presented by Montgomery Inn, located right behind the right field foul pole at GABP. Smokehouse features Montgomery Inn's famous chicken, pork, and brisket during all home games. Make sure you visit the Smokehouse during your next stop at GABP. As predicted, the grounds crew comes out and puts some of the drying compound around the infield, a little bit on the mound, but more on the home plate area.
You know what they make that stuff out of? At least they used to. I'm not sure what the main component is that now, but it used to be ground up corn husk.
Yeah.
And you would think that in St. Louis there'd be plenty of that.
Or at least go up into Illinois, you can get a lot of it.
You would know. You're from up in farm country, aren't you?
Well, Peoria, yeah. You drive between St. Louis and Peoria, pass a lot of cornfields, that's for certain. Well, they pulled the tarp covering off just so they're ready just in case down the right field line. Usually has a cover on it with an advertisement for the local newspaper. Pulled that away, and they are ready should they need to pull out the tarp. Fifth inning now. Tony Renda leads it off, then the pitcher spot, then the top of the order. 2-1 St. Louis. Chris, you may remember this. We were talking about the Dodgers and the Giants getting together this weekend in San Francisco to close out the season. Our statistician, Danny Martinez, who's given us a bunch of good information this weekend, and you have said he's a closet Dodger fan. He won't.
I thought he was. He won't admit it, though.
He won't admit it. No, he will not admit it. Said, do you remember back in '82, the Dodgers, the Giants, the Braves were in a big three-team pennant race. At the end of the '82 year, the Dodgers eliminated the Giants on the second to the last day, and then the Giants returned the favor by the following day, thanks in part to a 3-run home run by Joe Morgan to eliminate the Giants. Called the little shot heard around the world. You remember that in '82? You were playing back in those days.
I sure do.
The little shot heard around the world. Bobby Thompson, the shot heard around the world. Vin Scully's told some stories about that home run. He made the call on that. Foul ball by Straley. 1 ball, 1 strike. Tying run on here to get the top of the 5th started. But Peralta halfway down the line at third, anticipation of Straley wanting to bunt the ball. He's been very good at bunting this year, Dan Straley.
Yeah, he pokes a lot of fun at himself about his inability to get base hits, but where he does get serious is when it's moving those runners over. And this is where a pitcher in the National League can really help himself.
Only Max Scherzer with 13 for the Nationals has more sacrifice bunts this year than Straley. Billy Hamilton actually had 11 also. He and Straley have 11. Julio Teheran of the Braves has 11. Top 4 in the National League.
He had never had one before this year.
Three and 2. back and took strike 3. Remember, this coming Saturday, college football doubleheader kicks off on Fox at 4:30 Eastern when the Oklahoma Sooners face Kyle Hicks and number 21 TCU, the Horned Frogs. Then at 8:30 Eastern, Arizona State takes on Southern Cal. It's all streaming live on Fox Sports Go. Peraza base hit his last time. He's 1 for 2. He's now hitting 13 of his last 15 games, and he just continues to do excellent work in the second half. And in particular, since he was recalled from Louisville on the 20th of August. Hard hit to the shortstop. They'll get one. And they'll get another one. A double play. Boy, that was hard hit by Peraza, but unfortunately right at Aledmus Diaz. Away. The puck drops in the new season. 2 weeks from tonight on your home for Blue Jackets hockey, Fox Sports Ohio. Countdown to face-off presented by Wendy's. And the big tip of the Reds and Fox Sports Ohio cap. And a birthday wish today goes out to lifelong Reds fan Helen Eggleston from Hamilton, Ohio. Watching at home tonight, celebrating her 99th birthday with her family and friends. Happy birthday, Velma. Hope you enjoy the day. Hope we can make it a little bit nicer for you and have the Reds come back and get a win here tonight. Richard leads it off in the bottom of the 5th. Nice job to get the bottom of the 5th starters. Grichuk a strikeout victim. 6 of them now by Straley. We're talking about the little shot heard around the world, the home run by Joe Morgan back in 1982 when the Dodgers and the Giants and the Braves were involved in that 3-team race. That's a line drive, and that's going to be a home run. Yadier Molina. First pitch swinging. Number 8. That's a 3-1 St. Louis lead. Another solo home run given up by Straley.
He just kind of hung that baby inner third, about halfway up the strike zone, and Molina's right there to gas it out of here.
Six of the 8 home runs Molina has hit this year have come since the All-Star break, where he has just been terrific for the Cardinals. Piscotty will fly this ball into right field, and Renda handles it. 2 men out. 35 home runs now the Cardinals have hit against the Reds this year. Team record for most home runs against an opponent.
What made that kind of interesting from a pitch selection standpoint is it was a changeup. And you know he got it in the wrong spot. Doubtful that Straley wanted to throw a high changeup, but I like the idea because they're probably looking first pitch fastball, but when you make a mistake with it, they can get on it.
Another first pitch swing. This one by Peralta, sending Renda to the warning track, but Tony makes the play, and that will end the bottom of the 5th. But the second home run of this game by the Cardinals has given them a 3-1 lead.
Go. Adam Duvall hit not 1, but 2 home runs. A 5 RBI night as the Reds rolled over the Cards 2 nights ago. And those 5 RBIs, it put him to the century mark in runs driven in. It has been some kind of breakout season for Adam Duvall.
He will bat in this inning, number 6, against Alex Reyes. Iribarren, Votto, and Duvall trying to get something started against this 22-year-old Alex Reyes. Iribarren twice has grounded out to the second baseman, Gyorko. Rain starting to come down again here at the ballpark. So anyway, I started the story about Bobby Thompson and I didn't finish it. Should never do that kind of thing.
Well, I did want to ask you, because I always thought that the home run call by Bobby Thompson was not made by Vin Scully.
One was on TV. The one that we hear all the time was on radio. But Vin made it on television. Down the right field line, that is a foul ball. It was the Bobby Thompson home run for the New York Giants against the Brooklyn Dodgers and Ralph Branca. The two teams had tied for the National League pennant that year. That's when there was no divisional play. So they played a best-of-3 series to see who was going to move on to play the Yankees in the World Series. They were tied at 1. It was the bottom of the 9th at the Polo Grounds. Bobby Thompson hits the home run against Ralph Branca. Giants win the game 5-4, win the series 2-1, move on to the World Series, only to lose to the Yankees. I don't know the name of the book, but there's a book out that I read a number of years ago about what happened to that baseball that Thompson hit. What happened to the baseball? An entire book is dedicated to the story of that baseball. Votto lashes one into right center field, and that's a hit, his second of the night. He represents now for the Reds their 6th hit of this game.
Well, the call that we hear most common is Russ Hodges.
Correct.
Who made that, but there were evidently other broadcasters on the trail that day. Ernie Harwell was also there, I believe, and Gordon McClendon, who I am not familiar with, but
and Vince
and Red Barber.
Vin talks about when the game was over, walking from the press box, and you had to get to the clubhouse, you had to go across the field. And so he walked out towards center field into the clubhouse and sat down next to Pee Wee Reese, Jackie Robinson, and they were obviously very disappointed, very distraught, and he just sat down next to them. I think Vin was part of the Dodgers broadcast team on the radio.
But it was Red Barber who made the call at the time. Okay.
There you go. Duvall in the air toward left field. Martinez looking up into the rain. Makes the catch for 2 out. So we've talked about the shot heard around the world and the little shot heard around the world tonight. One by Bobby Thompson, the other by Joe Morgan. Here's Suarez representing the tying run. Struck out, hit into a force play. Suarez 0 for 2 in this game, 4 for 15 in the series. Here's our guy Danny Martinez again coming up with it. The book is called Miracle Ball, The Hunt for the Shot Heard Around the World. That's the book I'm talking about. I read it a couple years ago. Fascinating book, and I would highly recommend it.
Huh. Well, I'll have some spare time over the winter. Maybe I'll do that. Give you a full report.
Take it with you in your world travels, because I know you'll be traveling all around the world again this winter.
Or at least all around the county.
The world, county.
To the far reaches of Madeira.
You have any big golf trips planned this offseason?
No, but I'm hoping that the weather here in Cincinnati holds out. That gives us a nice fall for chasing that little white ball around.
I mean, obviously you can play as long as the weather's nice, but what do you generally get, about 6 weeks? October and so November?
Well, I played on Christmas Eve last year in
You did?
shorts and short sleeve shirt. It was so unseasonably warm, so I know a lot of people looking forward to a white Christmas around Cincinnati. I prefer to have the greens rolled that day.
You like a white Christmas, the white
There you
golf
go.
ball. Walk to Suarez moves Votto into scoring position. A chance for DeJesus, who had a base hit his last time. Reds down 3-1, 6th inning. Reyes approaching 100 pitches. Last time out he threw 115. That's his season high here at the big league level. His best start 2 starts ago out in San Francisco, and he went 7. Did not allow a run. He run into a little problem here in the 6th inning. A 1-out single by Votto, a 2-out walk to Suarez. He's fallen behind 1-0 to DeJesus. Action in the bullpen. Matt Bowman, we've seen twice already in this series, up and throwing. Ball hit to left. That'll get down for a hit. Votto comes to third, then is held there as Martinez charged that ball out in left field, came up firing. Good thing that Billy Hatcher stopped Joey, because there's no way he was going to score on that.
Well, he stopped him early because even with 2 outs, Votto getting a jump where he's moving with the bat on the ball. This ball goes right to the left fielder. Second hit of the night for DeJesus. Both of them to left field, and here comes Martinez charging hard.
Votto broke on contact, but and the ball was just hit, as you said, right at the left fielder, not giving Votto a chance at all. Derek Lilliquist goes to the mound, giving Bowman more time out in the bullpen. Great opportunity for Cincinnati here. Bases loaded, 2 out. Barnhart, who produced the Reds' only run thus far back in the 2nd. A very good hitter. Runners in scoring position at the plate again here in the 6th. This guy likes the bases loaded situations as well. Tucker this year 6 for 12 with the bases loaded. Would love to come up with a gap shot right here. Clear the bases. Barnhart has been good. The Reds have been good. Look at that, a .330 batting average, leading the National League in that department.
One of those 6 hits for Barnhart was a grand slam.
Hit that against the Miami Marlins back at Great American Ballpark back on the 16th of August.
That's pretty clutch for a young man like Alex Reyes to come in there with a changeup with the bases loaded. I mean, when you possess a fastball that is a high 90s fastball and you're able to get his 3rd best pitch over the plate, pretty impressive.
That's a fair ball. It's fielded by Carpenter. He steps on the bag. Barnhart is out, and that battle between Reyes and Barnhart goes to the Cardinal right-hander.
is presented by authority of the Cincinnati Reds and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. And the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Cincinnati Reds.
And the final 3-game series of the year starts tomorrow night at Great American Ballpark against the Cubs. We invite you to come on out, cheer on your Reds. You can do it for only $13. And don't miss the last post-game fireworks show of the season presented by Adams Recovery Center. If you'd like tickets, you can call 513-381-REDS, or you can simply visit Reds.com. Straley to work, bottom of the 6th. Gets Gyorko, Diaz, and Martinez. 6, 7, and 8 in Mike Matheny's order. Game of playoff interest tonight in the American League. Baltimore playing at Toronto. Toronto starts the day 1 game ahead of Baltimore for the #1 wild card spot, and Baltimore leading 3-0 in the 7th. That'll be presumably for the right to take on the Texas Rangers in the division series. Of course, you have to get through that wild card game. Talking about the home runs that Molina has hit in the second half. 6 of the 8 that he has hit have come in half number 2. How about this guy, Gyorko? He has 21 home runs in the second half. He has 28 on the year, 21 since the All-Star break. The third. Suarez will throw him out for out number 1.
You know, Gyorko is an example of a player that was signed to be a backup player. A little insurance just in case. A guy that will come off the bench and provide some power, can play around the infield at different positions, and he's played just about all of them. But when needed, because of some injuries and some underperforming players ahead of him, he gets a chance to play every day, and all of a sudden he hits a whole bunch of home runs. So that's why sometimes how you structure your bench is very important, because you can never really tell how much playing time that bench player is ever eventually going to get.
He had that big year in 13 with the Padres, and as you said earlier, they trade him over here. They pay some of the money. He's under contract here for 3 more years through 2019. Diaz has walked, doubled, and scored. And he's on for the 3rd time tonight. Solid contact and a base hit on the left field for Aledmys Diaz.
Pretty good level swing on a high fastball right there. That's a spot that Straley likes to throw that fastball. That may have gotten down a little bit too much of the strike zone. But Diaz shows you a very quick bat.
Funny, the Cardinals have found a guy that now will be at shortstop presumably for a number of years, and yet had it not been for the injury to Johnny Peralta, the thumb injury, Aledmys Diaz may still be in the minor leagues for the Cardinals. Peralta gets hurt, goes on the DL. They sign Ruben Tejada. Tejada doesn't work out. Eventually they go to Aledmys Diaz. And yes, he has worked out. Now his defense hasn't been the best, but his offense has been way more than they thought they'd get. Irabarren reads this ball right at him off the bat of Martinez for out number 2. And now Matt Adams will bat for Alex Reyes, and so The hard-throwing right-hander at 22 years old finished after 6. Adams hitting .251 with 16 home runs. 3 of those are pinch hit home runs. He started the game here on Monday hitless in 3 at-bats. Had the pinch hit 2-run homer Tuesday in the 6th inning. Also appeared in the game last night as a pinch hitter and bounced into a double play. Cardinals with 16 pinch hit home runs this year. We touched on it the other night. The Reds do not have a pinch hit home run this year. Hard to believe, but true. Last pinch hit home run the Reds have hit came late last year in August by Adam Duvall. There's strike 3 call to the pinch hitter Adams. The Cardinals leave a runner. We're through 6. Here at Busch Stadium, the grounds crew guys back out there again, this time working on the infield again. You can see some shiny spots. That's where it's getting a little bit too wet. Mound has a little bit more, home plate a little bit more of that drying compound. There's a good overhead look at it. And they'll work on it as the new pitcher warms up. We'll tell you about our Honda game summary so far in tonight's contest. Tucker Barnhart, a base hit into right field. That was in the top of the 2nd, scoring Duvall, giving the Reds a 1-0 lead, but they didn't last long. Jedd Gyorko, bottom of the 2nd, is 28, tied the game at 1. Here's Yadier Molina in the 5th inning, into the seats out in left field. Number 8 for Molina. That made it a 3-1 Cardinal lead. And that's where we stand now into the 7th inning. 3-6-0 Cardinals, 1-7-1 Reds have left 6, as have the Cardinals. And Matt Bowman, he's been busy. He'll appear for the 3rd time in this series, take over on the mound. Meanwhile, Tommy Pham will take over in left field for Jose Martinez. And here is Matt Bowman, the Rule 5 draftee from the Mets.
Close to 60 games now for Matt Bowman out of the bullpen. Rule 5 draftee that has paid off immediately. A young man that we mentioned last night went to Princeton, 13th round pick by the Mets in 2012 out of that Ivy League school. So he joins the likes of Chris Young and Ross Ollendorf. Former San Diego Padres outfielder Will Venable, all who went to Princeton.
Reds will send up Renda, then a pinch hitter for Straley. Steve Selsky is on deck, a.k.a. Stone Cold. And then Peraza against Matt Bowman. Pitched last night, worked an inning, a lot of pair of hits, but was able to get out of that when a ground ball off the bat of DeJesus ended the inning. Renda trying to get it going. Renda struck out and walked. He's 0 for 1.
You know, if you look at the pitching delivery of Matt Bowman, you think, wow, I've seen that somewhere before. It may remind you of Tim Lincecum, the diminutive and very hard-throwing pitcher for so many years with the San Francisco Giants. Big, long stride, over-the-top delivery. And Bowman will tell you that it was a little bit of coincidence that he pitches like that, but it was also a little bit of maybe conscious effort to pitch like that. He saw Lincecum, same body type, same size, and saw how he would really stride to the plate, rear back and try to put everything on it, and he used that delivery as his model. He has toned it down quite a bit since then. Doesn't turn or twist nearly as much as Lincecum ever did, but there is a resemblance.
We talked about it earlier this year. Reds had Lane Thompson with this ball club who looked a lot like Lincecum. Pinch hitter Steve Selsky batting for Dan Straley, who exits his final start of the year after 6, trailing. But it'll be a quality start for him, making his 20th quality start. 6 innings, 6 hits, 3 runs. Selsky had a big night here on Monday when he went 5 for 5. Batting here in the top of the 7th. Jumbo up in the bullpen along with Blake Wood. Selsky overall in the big leagues, .333 with 2 homers, 7 RBIs, and he's 4 for 8 as a pinch hitter. Talking about pinch hit home runs, the last Red to hit a pinch hit home run, that was last year, August 31st at Wrigley. Adam Duvall did it against Justin Grimm. Reds hit 2 of them last year. The other was by Jason Bourgeois. Last time the Reds won a season without hitting a pinch hit home run was 1979.
Wow.
Long stretch. Swing and a miss. Down goes the pinch hitter Selsky. Back-to-back strikeouts for Matt Bowman. Well, he's become someone that Mike Matheny really is leaning on here late in the year.
Well, the guy that is normally in this place has been on the disabled list. I think he's already had Tommy John surgery, and Seth Maness. Maness was a ground ball machine, heavily leaned on for so many years by the Cardinals. It just came up injured this year.
He's been out since the middle part of May, Maness. Peraza 1 for 3, bats with 2 out.
Looks like Bowman hides the ball well. Guys just don't seem like they are anxious to get up there and hack. Peraza, who loves to hit early in the count, has taken 2 in a row.
Sends this one right back up the middle, and another multi-hit game for Jose Peraza.
Boy, he's been impressive. He really has been impressive. 0-2 count. Bowman throws it right down the can for him, and you can see the reaction of the Cardinal pitcher there. Looked like they tried to get in on him a little bit and couldn't get it in there.
Peraza's been up and down a number of times between Louisville and Cincinnati this year. Those first few times up, he really wasn't that impressive, and you start to think, was this a good trade for the Reds? But boy, since August, he has really relaxed and done a great job.
Of course, Peraza was part of that Todd Frazier deal,
Right.
which also netted the Reds Scott Schebler. Frazier, by the way, became, I guess, one of the only 2 players in White Sox history to hit 40 home runs in his first year as a White Sox. I'm trying to recall who the other one was.
Could have been Frank Thomas.
I think it was Jim Tomei.
Good guess there.
I think Frazier is a free agent after this year. So we'll see what happens with Todd as we move forward. Tell you one thing, you miss his personality around the ball club and around the clubhouse.
Tell you who misses him, Jim Day. He was a go-to guy for those guys. I mean, they needed a comment from somebody. They needed a reaction.
Yeah.
Todd was the guy, and he always came through with a good one.
I mean, with an honest, straightforward, on-the-spot response.
Here Amarin trying to keep this 7th inning going. And he's run out. Boy, Bowman was impressive there. Gave up the hit to Peraza, but gets 3 strikeouts in the inning. Playoff spots up for grabs from Major League Baseball's final Saturday of the regular season. First on Fox, Cardinals battle the Pirates, or the Mets take on the Phillies at 12:30 Eastern time. Then on FS1, it's the Indians and the Royals at 4 Eastern, or you can watch both games live on Fox Sports Go. There's the National League wild card race. Giants trailing the Mets by a game and a half, but they have the number 2 spot. That's what the Cardinals are trying to get into. They're 1 out going into today. Giants playing later tonight at home against Colorado. Mets off today. So it's conceivable that the Cardinals hang on and win here, and the Rockies, who won yesterday at San Francisco 2-0, win again, that the Cardinals and the Giants will be tied for the number 2 spot.
Well, that could happen, although Johnny Cueto is back and on the mound for the Giants tonight with that 17-5 record. He will be facing John Gray, hard-throwing right-hander, who is 10-9 on the year. He's very capable, Gray is. Might be a game worthwhile for you to stay up and watch tonight on the plane ride on the way back to Cincinnati.
Don't think for a moment I won't have that baby on. pitcher on for the Reds is Jumbo Diaz, who takes over for Dan Straley. Not quite as satisfying of a season's end for Straley tonight as it was for DeSclafani last night.
Straley talking on the way over, and even if he didn't verbalize it, he was thinking that if you can get to 15 wins, that just seems like such a great level. I mean, 14 is nothing to shake about it, especially given the fact that he started the year as a player claimed off the waiver wire. But he was hoping to nail down number 15 tonight. 6 innings of 3-run baseball. He got a quality start out of it, but will not get a W.
I tell you what, I know you agree with this, that when we go to spring training next February out at Goodyear, we will all look forward to having Straley in the rotation again.
I don't think there's any doubt about it. I mean, if he stays healthy, I think he's got a spot, and he should. And what you do during the regular season, and I'm not necessarily talking about the month of September, because call-ups can fool you the same way you can be fooled during the month of March. What you do during the regular year, June, July, and August, those are the months that are so important to determining whether you can come out and be on a big league team and be a contributor the following year. So I think Straley, that's a no-brainer.
Jumbo working on Carpenter, who's 0 for 3 in this game.
And Straley does the other things I think that you want in a teammate. Pitchers kind of hang by themselves, but he's a pitcher that's helped some other young pitchers along the way. He's got good work habits. He's not going to embarrass the ball club by doing some crazy thing away from the field. I think he's just solid through and through.
He's a good media go-to guy also. I mean, he's always available, willing, and comes up with good comments.
Yeah.
Insightful, as you said. He thinks about the things that he's going to say, and he's very interesting. Jumbo last worked on Sunday in the victory over the Milwaukee Brewers, although he did allow 2 runs in his 1 inning Sunday afternoon. Carpenter starts it off with a base hit, and that will go for 2. There's Carpenter with a headlong slide into second base. Not a good beginning for Jumbo.
Well, a fastball that finds pretty much the middle of the strike zone right there, and Carpenter lays the wood to it.
35th double for Carpenter, who's been in his career a doubles machine. That's the 190th of his career. But 3 years ago, he led the big leagues with 55 doubles. Just last year, he led the National League with 44.
A couple of things this year that have happened to Jumbo. He was in 61 games last year. This year, with his trips ups and down, he was only in 30 or 44 counting tonight. But his base on ball percentage went way up this year, as did his home run giving up percentage. Strikeouts have gone down, so when you have a combination of strikeouts going down, walks going up, and home runs going up, you're not going to be used in high leverage situations as much.
Still in all, he's a guy that will come from a baseball term cheap next year, that he is not arbitration eligible until the 2018 season. Strike 3 call. Powers one in there and retires Grichuk for out number 1.
That's a key strikeout right there, because Grichuk, really all he wanted to do was to try to get that ball to the right side. And if your challenge is trying to hit the ball to the right side of the field, why wouldn't you at least hack at that pitch? I mean, every pitch that Jumbo threw in that at bat was up and away to him, almost inviting him to do what he was supposed to do and move that runner over to third.
The challenge increases with Yadier Molina. Homered his last time, 1 for 3 in this game. Keeping that average above the 300 mark, trying to hit over 300 for the 5th time in his career. But Jumbo going without the spectacles tonight.
Maybe he didn't have windshield wipers on him.
It's a good point right there. You want to keep wiping those things off.
So it looks like the rain is just about stopped.
$38,330 on this Thursday night in St. Louis. Fans clinging to hope that maybe their Cardinals will get into the postseason for the 6th year in a row. I mentioned the other night they have had success as a wild card playoff team. Won it all in 2011 as a wild card team. They were in the first double wild card team playoff game in the National League against the Atlanta Braves back in 2012. And the Major Leagues went from 1 to 2 wild cards in each league. And he gets Molina. He blew him away with a couple of heaters. Back-to-back strikeouts for Jumbo. Here's Piscotty. Last time the Cardinals have not made the playoffs, last time they were not in was 2010. They still finished 10 over that year. They've had a run of 5 consecutive years in the postseason, the last 4 of which have been directed by Mike Matheny, whose contract goes through next year. Scotty tonight, 1 out of 2. See that number, he's 0 for 5 lifetime against Jumbo. To right, and Renda, inning over. So Jumbo Diaz gets the job done. We are through 7. Up come the Redlegs now in the 8th, down by a pair. finish. See if Votto can get that started against a guy, despite being a lefty, he has handled extremely well. New pitcher, Zach Duke. Former White Sox pitcher, came over to the Cardinals earlier this year. Done very good work with them. In fact, an ERA of under 2 as a member of the Cardinals, 1.57.
Having a real, that's the best earned run average on the Cardinals ball club. But it seems like every time he takes the mound against the Reds, the guy in the batter's box is Joey Votto, who is hitting a cool 500 plus off of Duke. And he's going to get another one.
Slices this one into left. Pham dives to the ball, can't come up with it. Votto trying to stretch it to 2, and that ball hit him as he slid into the bag. Votto's down on the base out there at second. Billy Hatcher will run on over there. Joey looks like he's all right. Ryan Price going to come out. Tomas Vera, one of the trainers of the Reds, will jog out there as well.
Looked like it got him on the chin, and Votto's bleeding. Little slicer down the left field line. The fielder will come up and throw, and he'll take one hop, get by the fielder, and then hit Votto right in the chin.
There's Tomas Vera on the left, Brian Price on the right. And the double for Votto is his 32nd of the year. He stayed down for a few seconds, then he popped up. So what is he now? 14 of 27 against Zach Duke. 3 straight hits after going 0 for 5 last night. Wow.
Now they're just trying to close the cut a little bit. Don't know if they're going to put a butterfly on there, maybe a Band-Aid. Looks like Tomas could use some help. And
there's the main man, Steve Bauman, coming out of the dugout on the third base side, the head trainer of the Reds. Leave the game, it looks like. Votto sprints in toward the Reds dugout. You could see Steve Bauman saying something to him, and Joey got a disappointed look on his face and jogs toward the Reds dugout.
He may have looked at it and said, you know, it's deep enough to receive some stitches, and we're not going to be able to close it up right here. So unfortunately, Votto is going to have to leave the ball game.
Down to the dugout goes Votto, and again, 32nd double of the year. 3 straight hits for Votto. Tyler Holt will come out of the dugout and pinch run for Joey Votto. One more look. Well, that got him right on the bounce, squarely on the chin. So Holt the pinch runner. Duvall at the plate representing the tying run in a 3-1 game, top of the 8th. Duvall by the diving first baseman Carpenter into right field. Scoring for the Reds is Holt, and it's a 3-2 game as Adam Duvall, who had a big 2-run double last night, comes up with a run-producing single here, running his RBI total to 103.
This closes the game up, and Duvall using the entire field. Looks like gets a fastball right there. Really interesting because Duvall is a guy that hit a double early in the game on a breaking ball that he got out ahead of. That time, according to his strategy, taking the fastball the other way.
You know, he has a decent weekend. He could end up second in the league in runs batted in. I mean, Nolan Arenado's run away with the title at 130, but Anthony Rizzo and Matt Kemp are tied at second with 106. Duvall now with 103. Wouldn't that be something? Still nobody out. Duvall representing the tying run at first. Suarez 0 for 2 at the plate. Can tie this thing, get Dan Straley off the hook for the loss here tonight. There's your tying run. Duvall leading away over there at first. Go ahead run. Suarez at the plate. Down the right field line, chasing it Piscotty, but a foul ball. Ninth inning now at Toronto. Baltimore has upped its lead to 4-0 over Toronto. If they win that game, those two teams would be tied for the top spot in the American League wild card race. Off-speed pitch to center. Grichuk handles it for out number 1. Kevin Segras, a left-hander, throwing in the Cardinal bullpen. They also have a right-hander up down there, Miguel Sokolovich. There's the Cardinal pen. Segras on the left. What the Reds will do defensively with Votto out of the game. More likely than not.
Might be the guy standing at first base will be putting the glove on and playing first base.
I was thinking more along the lines of DeJesus playing first base. Renda coming in to play second, and possibly Holt staying in and playing right. Duvall is no stranger to first base, certainly, a position he's played a whole lot of in the minor league.
But this year at the big league level, you're right, we've seen DeJesus there from time to time. Might make a good big league manager someday.
Let's not push that. I much prefer the second guessing.
I do.
Hayes is looking for only a second career 3-hit game. He did it last year in July against the Pirates at home. It's 2 for 3 here tonight. I think it's a gapper here with Duvall at first base. He could tie this game here in the top of the 8th. Barnhart on deck. Wild one that gets away. And that sends Duvall down to second. The tying run now in scoring position. Still only one out. Zach Duke has been so good for this Cardinal team this year. They really haven't seen much of an outing like this from him. 2 hits and a wild pitch. Full count. Reds had an early lead, 1-0 in the top of the second on an RBI single by Barnhart. Cardinals tied it on the home run by Gyorko in the bottom of number 2, and then took the lead in the 4th inning. A ground out by Reyes with the infield in, and Diaz at third. Wobbled momentarily by Peraza. Looked like he was going to come home at the time. There's ball 4.
It just looks like Zach Duke has run out of gas. He's pitched now 3 days in a row. Even though it has only been a third of an inning last night and the night before, 5 pitches, then 7 last night. But he's not a guy that'll give the Cardinals usually more than 1 inning anyway. So they're going to go to the bullpen before any further damage is done.
Mike Matheny has made the call. Kevin Segrist, who's been busy himself in this series against the Reds, will enter the game. And so the Cardinals make a pitching change. And this is our Skyline Chili call to the bullpen. This weekend, invite you to catch all the action of the Reds and the Cubs beginning tomorrow night. Second game of the series is Saturday. You can come on out on that Saturday afternoon game. Watch for as low as $13. Thanks to Butterbee's American Grill, the first 25,000 fans will receive a Team Cincinnati t-shirt. For tickets, 513-381-REDS, or simply visit reds.com/tickets. For 7:10 tomorrow, 4:10 Saturday, 3:10 Sunday. Segrist against Barnhart.
You just wonder how many times the Cardinals can go to the well for Kevin Segrist and expect him to continue to provide what they have been seeing. I mean, he's been especially good in situations like this. Overall, batting average against is 193. But with runners in scoring position, he even gets better. This is game number 66 for Segrist.
Always been a strikeout pitcher. Every year in the big leagues, he's averaged over a strikeout an inning. Led the big leagues in appearances a year ago with 81. Duvall at second. DeJesus Jr. at first. 1 out in a 3-2 game. Blake Wood throwing in the Reds bullpen. Two and two. Towards center field. Grichuk back, makes the play. Duvall tags and hustles over to third. And now the tying run is 90 feet away here in the 8th inning. Tony Renda the batter.
Now, we mentioned the number of appearances that Segrist had in games last year. 81 led the league. This year at 66. He's down a little bit, but mainly because he missed a couple of weeks of the season when he was on the disabled list after having contracted mononucleosis. Well, that's a kind of DL stint that'll really leave you weak coming back.
I remember a number of years ago out in spring training, Bronson Arroyo came down with mono. They thought it was Arizona fever or
Valley fever.
Valley fever, right. But it turns out to be mono. They've had mono on the club this year. They've had a case of shingles and Mike Leake's case. They've been hit by injuries and illness. Two 2-0 now to Tony Renda. Struck out, walked, struck out. He's 0 for 2 in this game. Ramon Cabrera in the on-deck circle. Renda trying to come up with something big right here. Two and two. Cardinal fans on their feet. They're trying to help Segrist quell this Reds rally here in the 8th. To right field and Piscotty, and the inning is over. Reds score once, leave 2, and are down by 1 in the middle of the 8th.
far is also our Miller Time moment brought to you by Miller Lite. Let's take you back to September 3rd, one of the great plays of the year. Billy Hamilton going back, got turned around, makes the catch, throw to Peraza, throw to Votto, double play. As good as you are going to see. Billy Hamilton, in my mind, best center fielder defensively in the game. Your top moment of September. What a play.
I'll tell you what, Jim Day, I think that he's going to be a Gold Glove winner despite the fact he's missed the month of September. What do you think?
I'm with you. I haven't seen a better one. I haven't seen a better guy that covers more ground and changes the game than him.
You know, the encouraging thing is when you talk to opposing coaches on different teams that the Reds play, and you talk about outfield play, and they'll look at you and say, Billy Hamilton is in a whole different level. And I think a lot of people look at it like that. He runs balls down that nobody else gets to.
Well, we've seen the difference of this team when Billy is not playing center field, and that's taking nothing away from the guys that have been out there. They simply cannot cover the ground that Billy Hamilton covers. All right, Blake Wood is the new pitcher on for the Redlegs. We'll get to the other changes as Johnny Peralta leads off here in the bottom of the 8th. That's off the glove of DeJesus and on into right. Look what the Reds have done defensively now. DeJesus has moved to first base from second. Iribarren from center to second base. Tyler Holt, who pinch ran for Votto, is now in center. And Blake Wood is pitching to Ramon Cabrera, who's taken over for Tucker Barnhart. If something has happened to Barnhart, we'll have to check and hopefully hear something on that. Duvall will get to it. And Gyorko retired. He's 1 for 4. That's the first out here in the 8th. He has tonight been on 3 times, a pair of hits and a walk. Reds pitch out. Wong is running over there for Johnny Peralta. I mean, we talked about this team. They've only have 35 stolen bases this year. Wong has 7 in 7 attempts. So if anybody's going to steal on this club, it would be him. There he goes. Gonna be a tough play. Barehand Suarez and throw. Safe. DeJesus came off the bag.
Yeah, DeJesus came off and looked like just a hair quick, thinking that he might fire off a throw to third base. Now he's pointing into the Reds dugout. Bo Thompson will take a look at the video. We'll take a look at it first.
Very good play by Suarez. Did he bobble the ball there at the end?
It was really hard to tell.
Well, okay, we see Tony Randazzo say that he came off the bag.
And the Reds are going to ask them to review it in New York.
Ball in the field is safe, so they need compelling evidence, video evidence, to overturn this. To the naked eye, as the play was unfolding, it appeared as if DeJesus came off the base. Slow motion on the big board right here appears to show that he was out. From the angle that we just saw on the big board here at the ballpark, it appears as if he keeps his foot on the bag and gets the runner Gyorko at first. Or pardon me, Diaz. Reds are challenging this. You've got Tony Randazzo, the first base umpire, who made the call. You have Bill Miller, the crew chief, the home plate umpire, also involved in this. This year, this is their 50th challenge of the year. They're 24 for 49. Just under 50%. Take another look at it.
Yeah, watch Diaz as he goes near first base, but never really touches it.
Misses it there.
Of course,
Steps
he's on
over
it.
there.
He's been on it now. They're going to call him out. That DeJesus has vindicated that he did have his foot on there long enough when he had the ball in his glove. He's still fooling with that left wrist of his, that thumb area, where it looks like he injured it when he was diving after that line drive that Peralta hit to lead the inning off. That's a big out and a nice play by Suarez.
Runner went over to third. Wong, he was running on the play and just kept on going around second on the slow chopper. Ended up getting to third, and now Tommy Pham bats for the first time. He took over in left field for Martinez. Pham hitting .228 with 9 home runs. Appeared in the game last night, did not get an at-bat. Same thing on Tuesday. Blocked there by Cabrera on that pitch down and in from Wood. Reds in the 9th inning will have Cabrera out of the 9 spot, who took over for Barnhart, then Peraza, then Iribarren. Full count. It's about hit him by 2 at 10-8. Trail by a run, 3-2. Got him.
Good pitch there.
Boy, oh boy, that's a hard breaking ball by Wood. He gets Pham, putting an end to the bottom of the 8th inning. Say big store wide, great food, low prices at Kroger. And by Toyota. For over 30 offers, visit buyatoyota.com. Toyota, let's go places. The days are counting down, but make sure you're ready for Reds action 30 minutes before every game right here on Fox Sports Ohio. That's with Reds Live pregame presented by Ray St. Clair Roofing. 3 games to go. 3 Reds Live programs to go. Tomorrow night, 7:10 game against the Cubbies at Great American Ballpark. Reds Live at 6:30. Fox Sports Ohio condominium down the left field line at GABP. Cubs, by the way, have announced a starter now for tomorrow night. The Reds will go with Josh Smith, who gets the spot start, and the Cubs are going with a right-hander Jake Buchanan, who was a starter at AAA Iowa this year. He's appeared 1 time for the Cubs in September. He'll be the starter tomorrow night. Lester will go Saturday. John Lester looking for his first 20-win season. He's 19-4. Kyle Hendricks goes on Sunday in the finale. Meanwhile here, it's the final boss.
75 games now for the final boss. This one a 1-run margin.
Misjudged that ball in center. Grichuk, I mean, he floated for that ball, kind of nonchalanted it, didn't get there, and Cabrera is out at second base to start the 9th inning.
Well, he did the same thing last night on a ball that really should have been caught out near the center field wall. Drifted at first and realized he had misjudged it, put a little bit of pedal to the metal, but it was too late. Here, the same thing happened. This is a fly ball that just kept going, and Grichuk just looks like he's in cruise control. Boy, the Cardinal defense. They were porous last night, and we don't know yet whether that'll be a big play in this game, but it certainly puts O on the defensive.
Top of the order now, and Peraza. 18 saves, 3 blown saves for O as the closer of the Cardinals. Foul ball on the bunt.
Peraza's usually pretty good at being able to shoot that ball to right field. The question is, will he get a pitch from O that will enable him to do that? When they go after Peraza with fastballs, they normally like to get him right in on the hands.
That's where they came, and he fouled it away.
O is one of those pitchers who's actually more effective when he pitches up in the zone rather than down the zone with that fastball of his. So in back-to-back pitches now, he's thrown a slider down and away, fouled off, and a fastball up and in, fouled off. Molina wants it down and away.
And in again and got him exactly where you said they wanted to pitch him.
It seemed like in this particular bat with Peraza, it was every other pitch was an up and in fastball. Where you can see the flick of the wrist right at the very end of his delivery when that ball comes out of his hand, that he can really get a lot of backspin on that ball and run it right up and into right-handers.
In case you're wondering, Cabrera was credited with a double on that ball to center field, representing the tying run now with 1 out.
Scott Schebler's on deck. Seung-Hwan Oh has established himself when he was in Korea and then in Japan as one of the really quality closers. In the Japan Central League and in the Korea Baseball Organization. So he's been in situations like this many, many times before. The Cardinals had been scouting him since the World Baseball Classic in 2009. And they grabbed him when he was a real free agent, so they didn't have to pay his team a posting fee.
I didn't realize it worked that way. I thought you always had to pay a posting.
Evidently, if you're a free agent, no. Otherwise, if you break a contract, you have to pay the team a posting fee. So they get a little bit out of the free agent leaving to come to the major leagues in America.
to move the runner along as Wong, who took over at second base, throws out Iribarren at first.
That's still a pretty good at-bat for Iribarren. He wasn't overwhelmed at all. He got a pitch to start the at-bat right on the corner inside, and at that point he kind of was trying to battle just to get something from O that maybe will be able to drop in there.
Remember this confrontation between Schebler and O back on August the 2nd at Great American Ballpark. Schebler had just been recalled from AAA, where he had been the player of the month in the IL in July. With Votto and Duvall aboard against O, he hit that 3-run walk-off homer to give the Reds a 7-5 win in that game. Another confrontation right here. He could give the Reds the lead. He did it again. Schebler steps out. He, of course, left the game 2 days ago on Tuesday when sprinting hard down to first base late in the game. We thought it was a calf cramp or a hamstring cramp at the time. It turned out to be a tightened hamstring, left hamstring. Didn't play yesterday, not in the lineup today.
It would really have been interesting to see, had Votto not been forced to leave the ball game, what the Cardinals would do in this situation if Votto came to the plate. Would they have O pitch to Votto, or would they have walked him and put the potential winning run on base?
I think they would have walked it.
We may never know.
No, we won't know.
Well, here's the reason why Votto's not in the game right here and batting in this spot. One hop throw from the left fielder went by the second baseman, Gyorko, and got Votto right on the bottom of the chin. He had a deep cut, had to leave the ball game.
Tying run at third. 2 men out, top of the 9th. Schebler has 2 hits in 13 tries as a pinch hitter this year. 9 home runs, 39 RBIs overall. Should make the seats. Carpenter's over there, but out of play. Inning started with Cabrera hitting one to center field. Grichuk drifted back for it, and in the process didn't get to where he needed to be, and it fell for a double. Peraza struck out. Iribarren a big at bat, grounded out to the right side, moving the runner over to third. And now a 1-2 count on Schebler. Now Mike Matheny and the translator out of the dugout. And they all gather on the mound. Here comes Bill Miller, the home plate umpire.
Well, this is purely a meeting that was probably called by Yadier Molina. He may have looked into the dugout to Mike Matheny and say, hey, I want to make sure with 2 strikes on Scott Schebler that we get this right here. So we're going to plan not 1, but probably 2 pitches. So they brought the translator out to make sure that O and Molina are on the same page.
Let's see what they offer up here. A number. This is going to be a base hit, and this is going to tie the game. And Schebler, sprinting down the first, comes up a little bit lame once again. That thing went off the end of the bat. He gets himself a pinch hit single and a run batted in. The game is tied 3-3 here in the 9th, and as he got near first, he came up lame again. Look at that.
I mean, you couldn't hit it much softer if you're Scott Schebler. Right on the end of the bat, the defense was playing him deep and to pull. And he's going to bust it down the line. You see him go into a semi-limp right there as he feels that hamstring pull.
About 3 steps or so out of the box, you could see him come up a little bit lame again. Josh Smith is going to start the game tomorrow night. Has taken over as a pinch runner at first base. And Adam Duvall is on the spot now. How about Schebler, though? Off the bench with an injured hamstring. Cued one off the end of the bat. Sprints down the line. Gyorko came in to try to field the ball and did, but had no play. With 2 out, Cabrera was running. You know who feels the worst in this ballpark right now is Jedd Gyorko out in center field. That ball hit by Cabrera.
Grichuk.
I'm sorry, Grichuk, yes. He didn't catch that ball hit by Cabrera, and it cost his team.
You're exactly right. And the other thing is that the Cardinals have to feel like they're a little bit snake bit in this series. Last night, both runs the Reds scored that ended up holding up and becoming the difference in the ball game was a little bloop single by Adam Duvall. Tonight, they get a little squibber off the end of the bat to send the tying run. The Cardinals have used their best pitchers. So far, O has come in to pitch this inning. Kevin Seacrest has already been in the game.
Bowman.
Mike Matheny was playing this game to go 9 innings and 9 innings only.
Reds trailed 3-1 going into the 8th. Scored 1 in the 8th and have tied it with a run here in the 9th. 4th blown save, by the way, this year for O. How about the job Scott Schebler did? He didn't hit it hard, he didn't hit it far, but he hit it in the right spot. Dan Straley will not be charged with a loss in his final start of the year. Duvall battling at the plate against O. Got him on strikes. Adam fans, the inning is over, but the Reds get a run and tie this thing headed to the bottom of the 9th. come back, tie this game with a run in the top of the 9th inning on this ball by Scott Schebler, which becomes our Volkswagen drive of the game. Not your typical drive. The ball rolls 90 feet down the line, slowly on the infield grass. Cabrera breaks on contact with 2 out. He scores. That ties the game at 3. You can see Schebler came up a little bit lame earlier, and then again more as he got near first base. But he gets the pinch hit single, the RBI, and a blown save for Seung-Won Oh. And new life for the Redlegs here in the bottom of the 9th. 3-3 game, Blake Wood back to work. Changes defensively now for the Reds. Rafi Lopez in action at first base. De Jesus has gone over to play second base. Ira Barn, who started in center, goes back to center. Holt left the game. Schebler pinch hit for him. And now Jeremy Hazelbaker bats against Wood to start the bottom of the 9th. Pinch hitting for O. Hazelbaker with a dozen home runs, 4 of them pinch hit home runs. Overall hitting .237. Blake Wood allowed a base hit to start the 8th, then retired the next 3 Cardinals. De Jesus to Lopez, and Hazelbaker retired as the pinch hitter, out number 1, bottom of the 9th. Here's Matt Carpenter, who's 1 for 4 tonight. He had a double in the 7th. That came against Jumbo. 3-3 game, bottom of the 9th. Let's get a double by Votto. That's when he was hit by the chin in the 8th inning, and the Duvall single into right made it 3-2. And then the gift double by Cabrera on the fly ball to center, misjudged by Grichuk. Floated back on it, didn't get to the spot. And a 2-out pinch hit infield single by Scott Schebler in the 9th. To tie this game at 3 as we play in the bottom of the 9th. Grichuk on deck. Lopez guarding the line down there at first base. MILB.com. He has played first base 3 other times. All those coming in his minor league career. And none since 2013.
Well, with Brandon Phillips evidently unable to perform, Rafi Lopez is the last position player.
Right.
So the closest you would come to that would be Michael Lorenzen, but he's warming up down in the Reds bullpen.
Well, starting tomorrow night, the Reds will have Patrick Kivlahan available to them, but he is not here tonight. An outfielder that they claimed yesterday off waivers from San Diego. There's ball 4. Cardinals have the winning run all with 1 out in the 9th inning. Reds go home, take on the Cubs beginning tomorrow night. The Pirates come in here tomorrow to take on these Cardinals. Speaking of the Pirates, their game tonight at home against the Cubs ends in a tie. They end up tied in that game, 1-1 in the 6th inning. Rain interrupted play, forces the teams to stop in the 6th inning. They don't play again this year. It won't affect postseason play. So the game has been declared a tie at 1. The first tie game in the big leagues since June 30th, 2005.
Not counting the All-Star game.
Not counting the All-Star game, when the Astros and the Reds tied. How about that? A tie game. Stats will count. Again, the game will not be made up because it will not affect postseason. Cubs have already clinched not only the division, but the home field advantage throughout the National League playoffs. Pirates have been eliminated from the wild card. Interesting. Baltimore won at Toronto 4-0. So those two teams dead even atop the American League wild card standings. Both teams at 87 and 72. And Detroit's game tonight postponed at home against the Indians. It will be made up on Monday, the 3rd of October, if it is necessary. Detroit one game in the loss column behind those clubs. Seattle playing now at home against Oakland. Scoreless early. Grichuk a swing and a miss on a 2-2 pitch. He is out on strikes.
It's another one of those very hard sliders that Blake Wood has gotten to be known for. Grichuk's got to walk away feeling doubly wounded. The fact that he misplayed that ball in center field that eventually led to the Reds' tying run coming across, and unable to come up with a big hit right there.
Here's Molina. He's 1 for 4. Walk to Carpenter. He's the winning run, is at first base. Grichuk struck out. Molina up now. That's Rafi Lopez holding him on. Votto left the game in the 8th inning when he was hit on the chin on a one-hop throw in from the left fielder after Joey had led off the 8th with a double. Molina rips one to left field. That will one-hop the wall. Here comes the runner, Carpenter, racing around third. They're going to send him in, and there will be a throw, but it's late, and the Cardinals win the game on a double by Yadier Molina into the left field corner.
Molina hit it hard, and there was no way the left fielder was going to get it. The only question was, could they get it back into the infield before that winning run comes around? Duvall chases it down. It takes a bad hop, but unfortunately goes over the first cutoff man. The second man is behind him, but not in time, as Carpenter never slowed down.
Well, the Cardinals win their 83rd third game. The two teams split this series. The victory by St. Louis puts them at 83 and 76. While the Reds are still halfway on the field.
Well, while they're interviewing Yadier Molina for a post-game hero worship, he's pointing over to what the Reds are trying to do. The umpires have left the field. Brian Price is trying to perhaps ask them to review this to see if indeed that was not a ground rule double. And that would have kept this tying or the go-ahead run at third base. On the ground. You hit the MoLottery.com sign. Now, I don't know if that is part of the live fence, or whether if it hits that, it goes as a ground rule double.
Problem is out there that there's no yellow line, so you don't know the separation. But you're right, it did appear to hit the Mo Lottery sign in left field, which if that is in play, then it's a moot point. The problem is the umpires have left. Go downstairs to Jim Day. Jim, do you have any more clarification on this?
Well, Brian Price has chased the umpire clear down the tunnel, and he is yet to come out. The umpire's room is where you go behind home plate, and he immediately went there and has not returned, trying to get now they're taking the players off the field. He did come in and get him, so a very weird ending to this one. And these players are dumbfounded down there because they believe it's a ground rule double.
So Brian Price did or did not, Jim, talk to one of the umpires?
I do not know, because he went out of my view. Like I said, the tunnel right behind home plate is where the umpires go. They immediately left the field, and he went chasing them down that tunnel.
And nothing out of the tunnel since then?
Nothing. He has not returned from the tunnel, so maybe he went the other way to the clubhouse. I'm not sure, but he did not return to the dugout. Okay, I take that back now. I just found out he came up through the dugout, so he must have gone down the tunnel, around to the front end of the clubhouse, came up the stairs, pulled the players back into the dugout. So this game is officially over.
All right, thank you, Jim.
Well, you know, Jim, I'm reading the ground rules at Busch Stadium in particular, at least the way they're written here. It says a batted ball in play striking the top of the wall above the padding and rebounding onto the playing field is in play.
And that's what it appeared to do.
And that's what it appeared to do. So the sign that we saw that ball bounce off of, the MissouriLottery.com sign, was in play. And it was a good thought by Brian Price, but the umpires are gone. The post-game interview with Yadier Molina is over, and the Reds will pack up and head to the airport.
All right, one more quick question before we go. I wonder this. Because the umpires had left the field, even if that had been a reviewable play, would they have possibly said to Brian, it's too late, we've already left the field?
You know, that's a good question. I think because it would have been, at that point, a dead ball, then no, the umpires would be able to go back onto the field. If the umpires had left the field and some action had have occurred that they weren't able to witness, then that would have been a different story. But I think because once that ball is ruled a ground rule double, or in this case it would have really technically been called a book rule double, then it would have been one of those situations where it would have been a dead ball. But looks like although there are still some players hanging around the Reds dugout here, the Cardinals bullpen has been emptied. They're all walking into their own dugout, but the Reds are just kind of milling around. There's Ramon Cabrera.
You see them slowly going into the clubhouse now. Yeah, there are some of them still hanging around. Chris, thank you for the clarification on that, on the ground rule. That's good work. It appears the Cardinals have won.